This is my shallow nano aquarium, and it's a perfectly balanced little ecosystem that has a thriving population of aquarium plants, fish, and shrimp. Welcome back to Logan Rando Aquascaping. My name is Logan, and in today's video, I've got a 2-month update on my UNS 5S. It's a 2-gallon aquarium. I'm gonna talk to you about how the plants are doing, the fish I've added, the shrimp I've added, and just lots of things I do to maintain this aquarium and keep it thriving. So if you like this type of content, feel free to like the video, recommend it to a friend, and subscribe to the channel. Now let's dive into the update. So you've probably noticed that the key highlight in this tank is the Hardscape. Coming out of the top of the tank is a beautiful piece of wood that I call desert wood. I collected it locally here in Southern California. And when I was setting up this aquarium, I had this vision for a shallow glass with big Hardscape coming out. And I was definitely able to achieve that with this wood. It's actually a bunch of different pieces of wood cut up and glued together strategically. And I glued the wood to cerulean stone, which provides a really nice contrast and stays pretty clean in the tank as well. So the Hardscape was ultimately set up to provide a really nice blank canvas for some rheophytic plants. So I've selected a couple different species of Bucephalandra that are super tiny and bonsai varieties so that we don't kill the sense of scale. And in the first few weeks of the aquarium's life, the Buce melted back a little bit. Nothing to cry about, but a little bit where I had to scrub away some dead tissue. But I'm happy to say that it's doing really well now, is spreading out a little bit, and has really tight, compact growth. So the desired effect of that small scale foliage is looking really, really nice and complements the scale, because in a tank this small, you wouldn't want really large leaf textures because it's just totally gonna kill that sense of scale. You wanna go with smaller textures, and these tiny buces are absolutely perfect. So moving on to the rear of the tank, I have a thriving background of Blixa japonica, and this plant was perfect for this tank because it has a very small, compact texture that I think works really, really well, and also provides a really nice, full, dense kind of foliage that essentially creates a background. Because this tank is so shallow, I don't have any background at all. I mean, I could glue something onto it if I wanted, but I decided to use the greenery of the plants as a background, which is awesome because in addition to looking really cool and kind of framing up the Hardscape, it provides a really nice little escape for the fish and the shrimp if they want to kind of hide out and, you know, do their thing. So let's talk about the fauna in here. First of all, I knew I had to add my favorite nano fish, which is the Chihiros Bora, the Boraris brigate. Boraris come in a lot of different varieties, and sometimes local stores will advertise as having Chihiros Boras, but they'll actually have Phoenix Rasboras or Strawberry Rasboras. I was able to actually get my hands on the true chilies, which are my favorite variety. These fish have such great personality. When I first purchased them, you know, they were a little bit skinny and scrawny, and they're fattening up really well. They feed regularly, and they just have really interesting behavior. When I get my hands in there to do maintenance, they're chasing my hands around, they're chasing the siphon. They're just a really good energy fish. But of course, it helps to not have any natural predators near them, and they don't feel threatened at all. So if you're gonna keep these in a community tank, you wanna make sure to keep them with very, very peaceful fish, because they're just about the smallest fish you can get in this hobby. So either keep them alone or with other extremely peaceful fish. In terms of the cleanup crew, I've got a thriving population of red cherry shrimp, aka Neocaridina dividii, and these guys are awesome because I feel like they complement the reds of the chilies really well and pop out really nice against the green of the plants. So it's really fun to watch these guys kind of spread out around the tank and graze on the rocks, and I'm fairly certain they'll start breeding pretty soon. I have so many red cherries in my studio space that pretty much anytime I set up a new space, I can just take a bunch from one tank, transfer them to the new one, and before I know it, I've got a thriving population. So these guys are super hardy. However, they're also doing really well in my softer water. A few months ago, I switched over my studio to RO, so I keep the GH and the KH quite low, and I run TDS of about 150. So these guys are thriving, they're breeding regularly, but the chilies especially are going to appreciate that softer water because they do come from more acidic soft water conditions. Let's talk a little bit about the equipment and the maintenance that allows me to keep this little ecosystem absolutely thriving. So the lighting, which is really going to be the powerhouse of your tank, is the Chihiros RGB Vivid Mini, and this bad boy is such a powerhouse. I only have it on 20% power out of 100, and it really just illuminates the entire space. So much so that I decided to opt for the shade, which kind of of helps prevent spill from the light, you know, into your workstation or into your eyes. My desk is right by this tank, so, you know, with the light being a little bit above my head, it can bother me a little bit. So the shade is great, and I gotta give Boost Plant a shout out for sending it over my way. They always support this channel, and I'm extremely grateful for that. As for the filtration, I'm using the Mighty Aquarium filter, the extra small variety. And this little filter is perfect because it has just the right amount of flow without disturbing any of the sand substrate or the fish. I honestly feel like the flow is perfect, but you can cut it back if it was too much for you. And of course, this filter comes in a variety of sizes that are even larger than this. So if you want to get your hands on it, check out the Boost Plant website, and I also have lots of links in my video description. As for the CO2, I'm running a paintball cylinder, and I run a fairly low bubbles per second because this tank is only 2 gallons. So it stays about lime green most of the time. Of course, it's on a timer, but with the tank not having a ton of surface agitation, you know, the CO2 kind of gasses off a little bit every day, but not completely. So pretty stable pH and CO2 levels in this tank. As for maintenance, I'm happy to say that in my studio, this tank is just the golden child. I could probably get away with not even doing weekly maintenance. It doesn't really build up any algae, maybe a little bit of something on the glass, but that's about it. So every week I just get in there with my razor scraper, clean the glass, take a toothbrush, you know, scrub the rocks the tiniest little bit. Honestly, I'm just doing about a 20 to 30% water change, refilling that back up with RO water, remineralizing it, and it does absolutely fantastic. So as for some improvements I could make, I do feel like there are some bare spots on the hardscape that could maybe use some more bucephalandra. So perhaps in the coming weeks or months, I'll fill those in with some more of the lamined out purple or something of that variety. But it's also honestly just nice to have a tank or two in your collection that are just steady and kind of hold it down and don't change that much. So this is absolutely that tank for me. I am considering doing an external filter in the future. However, I think I would need to be able to control the flow and really reduce it significantly. So let me know down below in the comments what you think of this aquarium. It's my first proper shallow aquarium, and I'm absolutely in love. And I'm thinking about doing another shallow pretty soon, perhaps something on a larger scale. So if you like this type of content, please comment below, like the video, subscribe, share it with a friend, and I'll catch you guys and gals next time. Bye-bye.